Hey y'all, it's Dark and Moon again. This video will be a part 2 to my last one, where I will be drawing Mounra, Nyx, and Xyley, which are the rest of the profile pictures I will need for my game, Fools of the Past. If you didn't watch the first video, I'll leave a link to it in the description if you want to check it out. Alrighty, let's get right into it. Alrighty, the first character I will be drawing today is Mounra. She was raised in Death's Temple. When she was older, she traveled to the Eternal City and joined the King's Guard. Her weapon of choice has always been a bow, as she is a very skilled archer. After she had been a part of the King's Guard for a few years, she started to notice the king's immoral ways. He would send guards to villages to pester the village folk and take their hard-earned resources back to the castle. The king also visibly mistreated his people. One afternoon, she had ended up being one of the guards escorting the king around town. While her group was walking, a small wolf boy walked in the king's path unknowingly, and the king harshly pushed him aside. Mounra ran to help the kid back up to his feet. The king scolded her, yelling, "Leave that trash on the dirt where he belongs." Mounra snapped. She turned away from the child and drew back her arrow, pointing it at the king's head. "Do you want to try that again?" Mounra asked. The king laughed. Mounra let out a small chuckle, lowered her bow a bit, and released her arrow, striking the king in his stomach. The king screeched in pain and ordered the other guards to detain her. She fought her fellow guards off for a while, but they eventually overwhelmed her and threw her in the castle dungeon, where she spent the next few years. Mounra has the ability to summon fire. Over her years of imprisonment, she slowly melted the chains on her wrists and ankles while the other guards weren't looking. On the day of her escape, all the guards had rushed out of the dungeon for a reason unknown to Mounra, but she quickly took advantage. She jumped to her feet and melted the bars of the cell enough to push them apart and slip through. She then grabbed her bow from the weapons vault and sneaked through the castle, in search of the king, to finish what she had started several years ago. She had finally found him, but he was already dead, lying on the floor. Above his body stood a blond man with a bloody sword in one hand, and the king's crown in the other. He introduced himself as Charlage and explained that he had broken into the castle, positive that the king would give him answers to where his missing friend was, or could give him assistance in finding her. But the king had only taunted him and claimed he wouldn't even help, even if he knew exactly where she was. He said he raged out and killed him after that. Mounra told Charlage of what the king had done to her and how he had treated his people. The two chatted for hours, and decided to work together to make Eternia better and to find Charlage's friend. They decided Charlage would act as king and Mounra would be general of the King's Guard.
Chest that hides a scar becomes a blade beneath the stars, so light the fuse and watch me bloom, a painted prince of circus gloom. This smile, it's carved, not worn within. Revenge tastes sweet like a carnival grin.
The next character I will be drawing today is Nyx. She is a scientist and researcher in Aelke's Grove. She often would go on expeditions and investigate sites with eternal relics. The researchers had a special tool to grab, and a vessel to contain the relics without the researchers actually touching the relics. If they did touch the relics, they would be cursed by them, and that wouldn't be great for their research, as they wouldn't want anything they do to the relic to affect them. Nyx was one of the head researchers in the Grove. Her main studies involved looking into emulators and how relics affected people. One day she had recently picked up a relic liquid from one of the other departments. She told the other researcher she would keep an eye on it and see if it had any strange effects after it had gone through the liquidation process. While she wasn't paying attention, a teenaged Vincent wanders into her lab and, being the dumb teenager he is, drinks the liquid. His hair, eyes, and even blood turned green. Nyx kept a close eye on Vincent after that. She was worried he would have a strange reaction to the liquid. The only thing that she observed was that he was much faster. He even let her draw some blood for her to look at. A few years later, Vincent approaches Nyx and tells her about how he joined this group called Chaos's Fools. During this same time she had heard of the appearance of an emulator of chaos, so she decided to join the fools too. It was very likely, in her opinion, that an emulator of chaos would join chaos's fools. After a few years Nyx, Vincent, Xyley, and Charlotte had become heads of the fools. Nyx didn't care too much for this position, but her time in the fools had been enjoyable for her. She had learned that the emulator she had heard of over the years was a friend of Charlotte's. The next few times Vincent was heading over to Charlotte's for a game night, Nyx would ask if she could tag along. She had learned that the emulator's name was Xyley, but that was about it. Nyx asked Charlotte why Xyley wasn't a part of the fools. He answered by saying, "She doesn't know it exists, I don't think." Nyx responded by saying, "She's an emulator of chaos, wouldn't she love the fools? Does she not know you're a part of the fools?" He was annoyed by Nyx's questions and told her to leave Xyley alone. But Nyx is a very stubborn and persistent person, so she sent Xyley a letter, asking her to meet up at the tavern near her place. Xyley showed up a little late and told Nyx she couldn't stay long as she had other plans. Nyx asked her how much she knew of her emulator powers. She responded with, "Not much." Nyx also asked her if she had any particular memories from when she was born. She said no. They chatted for a few more minutes before Xyley said she had to go. "Hey, if you learn more about it, could you tell me?" Nyx asked. "Of course," Xyley replied. A few days after their conversation, Nyx traveled to the ruins of Cosmos Temple, where there had been rumored to be newly formed relics. While she was there she had found one. It was a smooth oval, that was colored a shiny black with a white flakiness within it. When she picked it up with the special tool, her mind went blank. The next thing she knew she was holding it in her hand and its color had changed, to the color of Nyx's eyes. She thought this was strange as relics don't generally change to match their holder, they change their holder to match them. After that she felt strange, a bit more obsessive than usual. She felt as if her personality was splitting, she would, in a way sort of black out, and her obsessive side would take over. She couldn't control it. The only person she told about this was Vincent. It had escalated so fast. While her obsessive side was in control, she had taken Xyley and trapped her within her lab. Her calm collected side was being pushed back more and more. Her calm side finally broke free. But the obsessive side had been in control for decades. She was then confronted by Vincent moments later. He had told her that she had taken it too far and he had let Xyley go. And he had to go too. Another thing to mention about Nyx is that she has the ability to manipulate others' perception of time. Her obsessive self had used these powers on Xyley to make her believe she was only held captive for a few years. She had also managed to use it on her calm self, to make her believe it had only been a few months. After Vincent left, Nyx kept to herself and tried to find a way to hold back the obsessive side of her. And finally, I will end this video by drawing Xyley. As I have mentioned in other characters' lore, Xyley is an emulator of chaos. She was found as a baby within Chaos's temple, and was brought to an orphanage as no one could find her parents. She lived there for around 5 years when another orphan was brought in. He was a scrawny, blonde boy with bright green eyes. Over the next 11 years the two of them became best friends. They always caused mischief and havoc for their caretaker, and would always stay out past curfew when they were older. When they were both around 17, they left the orphanage and got an apartment. Xyley took a lot of odd jobs. She found it fun to have a new adventure for work every day, and she loves helping people. Charlotte's would help her with these jobs every once in a while. He didn't seem to enjoy them as much as Xyley did, but he would always come along if Xyley had asked him to. Xyley wasn't sure what Charlotte's did for work, but she didn't care much. Eventually he had started bringing some of his work friends home to join their, mostly weekly game night. Vincent was a very nice man, and he had a very cute snake with him all the time. Xyley was very energetic and always brought a nice energy to the table. Nyx was very quiet and hard to read, but wasn't impolite or rude. Just quiet. One day she had received a letter from Nyx asking to meet. Xyley just assumed she was shy or something and was fine with meeting. She just had to make it fast, because Charlage wanted to take her somewhere later that night. She met Nyx at the nearby tavern, where Nyx asked her questions about her emulator powers. Xyley didn't have many answers for her, but promised to tell her if she found out more about herself. Later that night Charlage took Xyley to a tall rooftop in the middle of town, and told her to look out into the woods. Moments later colorful, bright fireworks started bursting up into the sky. Xyley loved the surprise and thanked Charlage for the colorful show. A few weeks later she was waiting outside the tavern for Charlage. Instead Vincent came out and talked to her for a bit. He had accidentally let it slip during their conversation that him and Charlage were a part of the Fools. Later that night Xyley asked Charlage about it and he spilled the beans, telling her everything about it. But he never explained why he kept it a secret. She brushed it off as nothing and went on with life. Then came the time where she got the job offer to help with the fall harvest in a different village. Xyley gladly accepted and dragged Charlage there with her. They were there for hours harvesting the fall crops and loading them up onto trailers and wagons. After the harvest they were invited to join the harvest festival. Obviously Xyley accepted and jumped straight into the festivities. Charlage joined her for a while but eventually was spent the rest of the night relaxing at a table out of the way. But Xyley was full of energy the whole night. She sang and danced with the farmers and joined in every activity that she could. At the end of the festival she ran off to a lake she had heard about from one of the farmers. They had said it was a great spot for a late night swim. The farmer was right, the lake was beautiful and the water was nice and cold under the night sky. But during her swim she felt something strange pierce her neck. The last thing she saw, before she blacked out, was Nyx's eyes meeting hers. Alrighty y'all, that's it for this video. I hope y'all enjoyed. I packed a lot more lore into this video as I felt these characters needed a bit more content to be fully understood, and they just had a lot more lore in general. If you guys liked how I did this video or have any questions or suggestions, leave a comment. I will also put a link to the part 1 to this video in the description as well. I plan to do a makeshift devlog on my current progress with my game sometime in the future, so keep an eye out for that. At the moment it's not much, but once I work out a few details, I think it should string together quite nicely. Anyways, thank y'all for watching. I'll see you all on the dark side of the moon. Good night y'all.
I saw you in the evening light. Moon was shining oh so bright. My heart was racing in the night. It felt like everything was